We solved a homeowner's leaky basement with these drain pipes, and in this video we're going to walk you through everything we did to achieve that. Let's get started. Alright, what do we got here? This is a buried downspout that I believe the homeowner actually installed. You can see that the gutter actually goes into a PVC pipe, which we've found, and it actually only comes out about 10 feet away from the homeowner's property. Now there's a few things that we're going to improve here. The first thing is that this just pops up about 10 feet away from the home, and you can see it's very brittle PVC. Another big issue here is that the PVC is essentially making a U shape, where there's no slope to this pipe. It goes into the ground over about 10 feet and then just pops right up. So this is a really ineffective method to remove water away from the home. We're going to be improving this by using high density polyethylene pipe, which isn't as brittle as PVC, and moving it away from the home way more than 10 feet. Now, this line is actually at least 100 feet long, and because it's 100 feet, we have to use specialized tools to ensure that we still have slope while we're moving the pipe away from the home. For this specific project, we used a laser level to ensure that the slope continued to go downhill so that the water could drain effectively. Initially, this homeowner actually reached out to us because water was getting into their window well and down into their basement. So we've actually used a few different solutions to be able to make sure that this doesn't continue happening. One of them is installing a yard drain right where you can see where that large hole is, and then adding it to our main trench. The main trench is 18 inches wide, and you'll see later it actually uses two pipes. We use one to remove the water from the surface drains, also known as yard drains, and then we also use another for a French drain system. By the way, these are 20-inch round surface drains. They're also called yard drains and also catch basins because you can see there is a bottom there which will catch debris if needed. Thankfully, at this location we were able to have the yard slope or create a small swale so that we could actually get water to funnel into these surface drains. Over here up next to the house, we have an area where we actually had to tunnel underneath a sidewalk to be able to install another surface drain closer to the house. We use specialized tooling to do this to make sure that the sidewalk doesn't have any structural deficits whenever the project is completed and there's no void other than the pipe underneath it. In this window well over here, you can see that the homeowner previously had a sump pump line installed. Our system is going to be much more effective than this window well sump pump. Plus, it'll also be a lot less maintenance. They won't have to roll that hose out into the yard or keep electricity hooked up to it. Anyways, moving back to our main trench line, up to this point, we currently have a downspout and two yard drains that are close to the house connecting to this trench. Here you can see another spot for a 20-inch catch basin or yard drain. We do dig a little bit deeper to be able to recess that in the ground so that again water can actually flow into it easily. If we keep going, by this point in the drainage system, we're going to be combining all of our drain lines into a single 6-inch smooth pipe to discharge across the driveway into a fielded area. You can see their previous system here, which basically takes some groundwater in this lower area and discharges it somewhere else. Our system is going to be able to collect a lot more water and move it away a lot quicker. Now you can see here, this is the fabric that we put down for the French drain system. This is to ensure that the French drain lines, or the perforated pipe that we lay down, does not get clogged with dirt or sediment throughout time. This will basically make your system last way longer than if you don't wrap it in fabric. So we think this is one of the most important parts of setting up a French drain system. Here's the connection setup you saw in the beginning of this video. On the left side here, you've got the perforated French drain. On the right side here, you've got the connection from the yard basin. The yellow pipe is actually tying into a previous system from some downspouts on this shed over here. And then finally, you can see that we actually discharge out into a lower area further past the driveway. Here we've installed all of the pipe and we're starting to install the gravel. Now the gravel allows void to exist within our French drain system, which is basically just air until water enters the system, and that allows that water to go somewhere instead of penetrating the soil and the ground surrounding the area. We finish the French drain by filling the whole area with gravel, and then we wrap the fabric over the top, and finally cover the last few inches of the top of the area with dirt, so that grass can grow back, preventing erosion. For the rest of this video, I'm going to let Caleb walk you through the rest of the final project with some important things to note.
We have our drain installed for the downspout on the corner of the home. Now, this is a round downspout, which is something you don't see very often anymore, so that's kind of interesting. Moving on, the back side of this home had 2 window wells, and those window wells were having water intrusion issues during heavy rain events. So what we did to both of the window well areas is we graded the grade away from the window wells and installed 12-inch area drains in front of them to make sure that surface water is carried away quickly. Out in the main part of the backyard through the center of the backyard swale, we have installed 18-inch wide French drain. There are 2 20-inch catch basins built into this French drain system. And as always, we have a separate 6-inch non-perforated discharge line built into this French drain to handle the 20-inch catch basin water, the 12-inch area drain water, and the water coming from the downspout drain. You don't want to introduce stormwater that has debris in it, like for example a downspout. It's going to have leaves, shingle grit. Area drains, they're going to carry silt and lawn clippings. You don't want to run that kind of water directly into your perforated pipe of your French drain. If you do, you're going to introduce debris to the system, which will eventually plug your drainage stone voids, plug the inlets on the perforated pipe, and the French drain will fail prematurely. Let's take a quick look at this 20-inch area drain. The drain is recessed about 4 inches beneath the surrounding yard area. You want to make sure that you recess your catch basins a good 3 to 4 inches, and sometimes even more. And sometimes you may even need to build a bit of a berm along the back side, the downhill side of the basin, to ensure that water doesn't blow around the area drain. If you do not recess your area drains, water is going to blow around them, and it's going to be a bit disappointing. This is the discharge end of the backyard drainage system, and in this case the client opted for what we call the daylighting method, which essentially means that the discharge line is ran on a consistent slope as far as it takes to run out on top of the ground, hence achieving daylight. Now, if you've been watching a couple of our videos, you've probably heard us talk about pop-up emitters. And pop-up emitters, they're a great way to discharge a system. They're very discreet, they're aesthetically pleasing even. They do not take up any space in your backyard, which is something to take into consideration if you have a small townhome with a small backyard. I get it, you want to be able to use your yard and you don't want to look at the end of a pipe. Now, this client has about 5 acres of property. He's not worried about using up a little bit of space of his yard to be able to discharge his drainage system. And if you're asking why you would opt to discharge using the daylight method, there are 2 reasons. Number 1 reason is it increases flow rate of the system. Unlike a pop-up emitter, you don't have an upward turn due to there being a 90-degree elbow at the end of the discharge pipe. So very little restriction with this discharge method. It increases your flow rate. Now, number 2 reason, which is pretty important as well, pop-up emitters, though we drill a hole in the bottom of the elbow, pop-up emitters hold a little bit of water at the end of them, and you can get a situation where the pop-up emitter is holding some water for long enough during the wintertime that it freezes and plugs the discharge end of your system. If you run your pipe out to daylight, the discharge pipe holds no water. All the water runs through it, flows out the end. The pipe is completely dry. There's nothing left to freeze. Also, In case you're wondering why there's no seed, straw, or erosion blanket spread across this property, in this case, our client opted to handle reseeding and strawing himself. Because of the careful approach we have taken to solving this client's backyard drainage needs from the design stage and all throughout the installation process, they're never going to have to worry again about water leaking into their basement during a heavy rain event when they're away from home, and they won't have to worry about what would have certainly been imminent severe foundation damage. If you are in the Kansas City area and are in search of a drainage contractor that you can trust to take care of your drainage issues the right way the first time, then please give us a call. We'd love to help. Thanks for watching.